Dragons. The most majestic, the mightiest, the most magnificent, and sometimes the most evil of all fantasy monsters. The ultimate fantasy monster, some would say. And I'm going to be ranking all of these buggers from 5e specifically. All the published dragons, not the ones from 2024 and not the ones from older editions, will be here forever. Right? Now, I may have missed a few. You're probably going to be glad that I did, because this will be a long video. Right? There's dragons from, like, Strixhaven I've never seen in my life. Okay? So, if there's a dragon from your favourite 5e module that I'm missing out, just comment where you would place them on this tier and why. What's your favourite dragon? Because you're about to find out my favourite dragon the hard way. Okay? So, first of all, let me just explain why there's already an image on the tier list and I haven't even begun the tier list. It's because, in my infinite stupidity, I included 2 dragon turtles. We don't need 2 dragon turtles, and I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea how to delete an image after I've already uploaded it. So ignore this dragon turtle that's in the what tier. And that tier, by the way, it's not an F tier. I don't think there's really any F tier dragons. But it's more of a, what the hell is this doing on the list? Okay, and you'll find out what that's about later on. So first of all, let's begin with the white dragon. White dragons. The weakest of the chromatic dragons, the dumbest of the chromatic dragons. They're not that dumb. People underestimate, right? Like, a tiger can outsmart a dude very easily in the wild, right? People get outmaneuvered and outsmarted by tigers all the time. A tiger in D&D has, like, an intellect of 3, okay? The white dragon, at least an adult, has an intelligence of 9. I think ancient has 10. So imagine a tiger with basically the same level of intelligence as a human, and it's, like, 30 feet tall. Like, white dragons are more dangerous than people think. I honestly think, I made a whole post on the lostlawscholar.com about white dragons, and how they should theoretically be even harder to fight than red dragons, because of the environment they're in. Okay? I think white dragons underrated. But they're still kind of the worst of the chromatics, so I am going to put white dragons in A tier for now. Right? They're probably going in the bottom of A tier. I just realised what a magnificent image I chose for the white dragon. Its head and tail have been cut off. You can only see its torso. That's all you need to know. Okay? Black dragons. Okay? These dudes are my favourite of the chromatic dragons. I could go on about these guys for about 28 minutes and 43 seconds. Okay? I'm not going to do that this video. I want to keep this snappy. But ultimately, I love the horror vibe. I love the undead vibe, the ghosts, the dark swamp, you know, creepy, spooky dragon. If you want to run a dragon, but you also want to run a horror-themed campaign, like a Halloween theme or something, bro, black dragons, okay? They're like stealthy assassin dragons, right? They prowl in the darkness. Imagine a panther that's 20 feet tall. Okay, imagine like you're in the dark and there's this giant apex predator moving as silently as a spider as he's stalking you, and he doesn't just want to kill you, he wants to, like, ruin your day. Right? He wants to make you give in to despair, and then he's going to kill you with, like, acid, which arguably is worse than fire because it, like, melts through your face and all that sort of thing. I know fire can do that too, but let's be real. It just seems more gory, okay? And then they're going to leave you to rot for ages before eating you. Like, I'm debating S tier. Are they an S tier dragon? They are my favourite. I have a personal affinity towards black dragons. I love these dudes, right? One of the first dragons I ever ran as a DM. Do I put it... Oh, God. I'm putting it in the top of A. There are S tier dragons. I actually don't even think black dragons are the best chromatic dragon. I think they're just my favourite. But I think there's another chromatic dragon which perfectly embodies what a dragon's supposed to be. We'll get to that one later, okay? For now, black dragons, top of A tier. Phenomenal. Right. Blue dragons. Desert Dragons. They ruined the design of these guys in 2024. Right. The design's grown on me. They're like the ugliest of the dragons, but there's a charm to it. Now, these dudes are meant to be like battlefield tacticians, right? They will like bribe all of the guilds of a city to work for them. They like to run things behind the scenes, like a underworld sort of crime boss in a sense, right? The ancient ones are more like empire builders. They love to just assert authority and dominion, and they use underhanded tactics. They live in the desert, and like they will harass you with sandstorms and lightning storms as you're trying to get close to them, sinkholes. And not only that, these guys are like the wizards of the Chromatic Dragons. They have the most amount of arcane knowledge of any Chromatic Dragon, and they also work as a group sometimes. They have like conclaves of blue dragons, which technically makes them the most dangerous of all the dragons. Because you fight one, you might end up fighting 5. Okay? Now, like every single Chromatic Dragon in this list, 5e ruined them by taking away spellcasting. They got given it back in 2024. Even that hasn't done a very good job at it. But I'm not going to lie. The stats of all the Chromatic Dragons: Bite, Claw, Breath Attack, Frightening Presence. That's all they really have. They're all exactly the same. So really, mechanically, there's no difference in a blue dragon and a black dragon. But I think in terms of lore and design, they do go above white, below black, right? But they're sitting comfortably middle of A tier. Okay? Now, brash dragons. Boys, understand this. I have absolutely no bias towards this dragon at all. Okay? There's absolutely no bias towards brash dragons. There's no reason for this. They just look cool, right? I own 3 of those WizKids minis. I've got black, bronze, and brass. Okay? And the more I've looked at brash dragons, the more their design's grown on me. They used to be my least favourite of the true dragons. Now, honestly, I think they're my favourite. I think I prefer them to black. They're funny as hell. They just trap you in sand and torture you for 8 hours, right? They're like... Someone commented on like a Mr. X video or something about brash dragons, and they were like, I just imagine you're trying to walk to the street, like down the street. You got like a meeting to attend. You gotta go somewhere fast. And the brash dragon just spots you from across the street, beelines towards you, and is like, hello there. And then that's it. Next thing you know, you're trapped in a 10-hour conversation. Okay, these dudes, they're just... I find them hilarious. They're the weakest of the true dragons. Other than maybe if you count gem dragons, true dragons, there is one that's weaker. But they make up for it in personality. They've got Riz, okay? Unlike the next one. Bronze dragons. Now these guys have cool lore. They like dwell on the coast. They're sort of ocean dwelling. I've heard stories they like turn into dolphins and like follow ships out of curiosity, and they like to observe what all the humans and elves and things are doing, going about their lives. They're very curious. They're very active, which is what I like in a metallic dragon, because there's... Well, I was about to say there's a lot of metallic dragons that do this. There's only one in particular I can think of, which are like really powerful, but they're just not very active. They don't go around fighting evil where they can. Bronze dragons don't have this issue. Okay, they are quite active. They got a strong sense of justice. I quite often imagine one disguised as a paladin. And they will protect coastal communities from like threats. I will say their design, though, it lets them down. They're the most boring looking of the dragons, I think, of the true dragons, by far. And 2024, it changed the designs of a lot of the dragons. I actually think that the 2024 version is a better looking bronze dragon than the 5e. Okay. Now, mechanically, they do have one of the coolest secondary breath attacks. So brash dragons have a sleep breath, which makes sense. And this is where metallic dragons tend to win a few points over chromatic, is that they have 2 breath attacks. One for damage and one for utility. The Bronze Dragon gets a Fusrodar. Right? It has a knockback breath for like 60 feet. Like, imagine fighting this guy on the edge of like some coastal cliffs. And he just Fusrodars you into the sea. The design holds it back. The lore and mechanics give it a few points. I'm going to put it just below blue, above white. It's still an A-tier dragon, but I do think it's possibly my least favorite, maybe my second favorite, least favorite chromatic dragon. Okay. Bahamut, whatever you want to pronounce him as. I've got my notes here, right? Listen to this, some ASMR for notebooks. Fizzban himself. Okay. The Platinum Dragon God. He lives on Mount Celestia. He's just flying around. He's minding his own business. Right? He's the brother of Tiamat, I believe. They were both created by one big old dragon primordial god. He's got his mining canaries, or golden canaries, around him at all times. See, in his Fizzban form, he's a little bit goofy. Okay. He's a goofy old dude. Alright. There's a famous, well, I say famous, it's not famous at all. There's an image in Fizzbans of like a brass dragon pranking the dude as he's talking to this smug statue. You know. But he seems like a cool guy. Like, Bahamut seems like the sort of god that you could sit down and have a beer with. Except he's a dragon, and he's huge. Now, bear in mind, me and Jack from the Lost Law Scholar, when these stat sheets for the aspect of Bahamut and the aspect of Tiamat released in Fizzbans a few years ago, we got on Roll20, and like bashing our action figures together, we made the two of them fight. I played as Bahamut, he played as Tiamat. Okay? Bahamut won. Absolutely demolished her. Okay? He's got, like, healing breath. He can revive people with his breath attack or something. I don't know. Like, this dude has actual proper CR30 god stats. This is just his aspect as well, you gotta remember. Okay? Plus, you gotta remember, if you fight Bahamut, you're fighting 12 gold dragons too. So, Bahamut, look, he's a dragon god, man. He's a god of dragons. He is the ultimate metallic dragon, okay? He's going right there. He's even remotely, he's like slightly above brass. Can you believe that? I can't. Right. Amethyst Dragons. We're on to our first gem dragon now, boys and girls. These are the strongest of the gem dragons, from what I believe. They're also the coolest designed of the gem dragons. Right? They have gravity magic. They can cast Force Cage as a layer action, which is every DM's favourite spell. And, bro, they get a singularity breath. Like, they're conjuring a black hole with their breath attack. They live underwater, though, which is a bit weird. But, you know, it is what it is. They also make, like, a duplicate version of themselves, a layer action. It's like an Echo Knight. So whenever they take an attack action, they can either do it through themselves or their Echo. Right, so the players don't know which one's the real dragon. Honestly, look, gem dragons are a weird thing, because I think in terms of actual physical design, they're not as good as the chromatics and metallics. They're a little bit over the top. But in terms of mechanics, they're way better, at least than the chromatics. As I said earlier, the chromatic dragons are kind of let down. They have Bite, Claw, Claw, Breath Attack, Frightened Presence. That's kind of all they do. Gem dragons get one breath attack, like chromatics, but the breath attack has multiple effects. So the Singularity Breath, for example, does a load of damage and reduces your speed to 0. Right? Probably one of the more boring of the breaths. It sounds cool, but most of the gem dragons have something like that. Whereas chromatics is just damage, and metallics have a damage and a utility. Okay? So these have it built into one, and they have spellcasting. So it makes them the only 5e dragons that have that built in. For that fact alone, I will put them in A tier. At least the Amethyst Dragons. Okay, so now we have Copper Dragons. Now, I said earlier that Bronze Dragons might be my least favourite metallic. I don't know. It's a toss-up between the two of these. Copper Dragons, when you read their 5e lore at least, they just get confused with brass dragons. Like, both of them are described as gregarious, social, pranksters, blah, 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 right? But the one thing that the brass dragon has going for it over copper is the cool-ass design. Copper dragons, again, they probably look better, honestly, in the 2024 edition. I don't like the snaky neck that they have, but they're... I don't know, I just feel like out of all the metallics, the coppers have the least amount of actual identity. Some people might really like them. Like 2024, they have like giggling magic and they're like all childish and whimsical and fey. I guess it's a personality, I suppose, to make them distinct from brass. But I ain't gonna lie, boys. This is actually our first B tier dragon. It's not a bad dragon, okay? It's still a cool-ass dragon. You know, if I was a player and a DM threw a copper dragon in there, I'd still be impressed. It's still a very impressive sight. But I just don't know. Yeah, that's all I can say about them. Right, chimeras. Okay. I decided to include these. I know they're not dragons, but they have got a dragon head on them, and dragon wings and dragon breath attacks. They're like baby's introduction to dragons, unless you're fighting a wormling, of course. But what I love about chimeras, not only do they look cool, they're like a really cool like level 5 player character like side quest. It's like, oh, a dragon has flown through and it's burned all these crops and these villages. Oh no, and it turns out like you go in the mountains and it's actually a chimera. What I love about their lore though is these dudes were the result of Demogorgon coming to the material plane for the first time, like the first time he got summoned, and he was so unimpressed by all of the wildlife that he saw that he just slapped them all together and made one creature out of it and was like, there, I've just improved your entire world. Okay? Chimeras are a B tier monster. Not bad. Chromatic Greatwyrms, though. Oh my god. I like the Greatwyrms. Okay? I am even a proponent of having dragons that are as big as mountains and all that. But look. I look at the size of this thing. Okay? It's ridiculous. I know I just said as big as mountains, but I was actually exaggerating there. My, like, upper size limit of, like, an ancient dragon or a greatwyrm is just Rodan. Okay, 600 feet wingspan, about, probably about the size of that village he's burning in that image. But look at it. How do you even go about fighting that thing? It's meant to be like, the Greatwyrms, okay, they're meant to be like gods. I don't like the lore of them because it's all about like the multiverse and stuff, and they combine with other versions of themselves. Dumb. Just make it a dragon that's so powerful and has so many followers that it's ascended. Okay, that's all you gotta do. And I like the Greatwyrm. Like, they have a massive breath attack, 300-foot cone. They're huge. They're powerful. Honestly, the stats for the Chromatic Greatwyrm is what an ancient red dragon should be. Although, funnily enough, on that topic, the ancient red dragon actually does more damage with its breath attack than the Chromatic Greatwyrm. The Greatwyrm has a 300-foot cone, but less damage. I also think that the ancient dragon, I might be wrong here, this is like headcanon, may even have higher HP than this thing. But an ancient dragon is 40 foot tall. Okay? What is this thing? Its foot is the size of an ancient dragon. The design's a bit silly. It doesn't even look like a red dragon in this picture. It kind of looks like an AI generated image. I don't think it is. This was like slightly before AI became a big thing, but it has that almost generic look to it. I like the idea of Greatwyrms, but the chromatic one's probably the most boring of the Greatwyrms. It's going in B. Chardalyn Dragons. Right. I don't even know what the hell is going on. Again, I've cut the head off this thing. Basically a Chardalyn Dragon. I think they're from Rime with the Frostmaiden. And they're made out of this metal called Chardalyn. And it's like this cursed metal, okay? And if you get too close to it, you get charmed by it because the metal's cursed. But other than that, it ain't even a dragon, it's a bloody construct. It's just a big robot flying metal thing. It doesn't even really fit the theme. Like, you go in like a winter theme campaign, it's just this big flying furnace. Nah, I'm not a big fan. Okay. They're going in the what tier? Death Dragons. These dudes are more or less just shadow dragons. They're practically identical, but they're from Dragonlance, and they're a little bit more like... They're more like an undead dragon rather than like a shadow dragon. But they're still, just like shadow dragons, they're discount Dracoliches. They're cool. I'd be scared of fighting one at a lower level. They look awesome. But I don't think I could put them any higher than D tier. Deep Dragons. Now, these are like the stand-in of 5e for Drow Dragons. Bear in mind, these guys in their lore have nothing to do with Drow Dragons. They live in the Underdark. They hoard knowledge to use against their enemies. They're smarter than they look. Bro, these things look like a deep sea fish. Okay? These things, like, when I was younger, my sister had a pair of rabbits. Okay? And those rabbits, they were related. They were brother and sister. But they decided to breed. Okay? And the offspring that they had were these horrendously deformed little pink things, which were dead upon arrival. And I remember my dad just chucked them in the bin. Okay? That's what these things actually remind me of. Their design is awful. They don't really look like a dragon at all. Like, it's a cool monster, like a chimera. But what are they doing? Like, bro, the Drow Dragons, like, they were like drow who turned into dragons. These things are just, like, underdark, cave-dwelling things that have no association with the drow at all, according to their lore. I might be wrong, but that's the lore I'm getting out of his bands. D tier. Crystal Dragons. The weakest of the true dragons, if you count gem dragons as true dragons, okay? These things, right, are a strange design, because they're more like light dragons. They live in icy caves, they use radiant magic, they like ice because it, like, reflects the light or some bullshit and it glimmers. And they use that as part of their lair actions. They get, like, cones of light which blind you. But honestly, they're like a CR 19 as an ancient. They have 222 HP as ancient dragons. That's the weakest ancient dragon I can think of. At least the true dragons, anyway. And their breath attack does radiant damage, which is it's a decent damage type. But they get like 15 temporary hit points when they use it, and it's like, what? Because remember I said with the Amethyst Dragons that they have like multiple effects on their breath attacks? Bro, this chair is like so squeaky. Guys, like, donate to my fake Patreon that doesn't exist, because I need a new bloody chair for these recordings. I'm not going to lie. The first half of this video, I was recording kneeling down without a chair at all, but now my knees are gone. So we're back to the chair. If you hear the squeaking, I'm very sorry about that. Okay, back to the Crystal Dragons. Look, they're going in... They're going to go in C tier. They look okay. They just look like a... They look like a white dragon with gems floating above their head. That's literally their entire design. Dracoliches. Right. Dracoliches. Liches are my favourite BBG. I actually prefer them to dragons. They're one of the coolest things ever made. Now imagine a lich that's a dragon. Bro. There he is. Right there. Now the 5e once again cocked up another dragon stat block. The Dracolich stat block in 5e is just a template. I mean, I guess they all are, really. The thing about Dracolich, right, they're the best of the undead dragons. Right, they are the definitive undead dragon. Okay? And they can be anything. Right, it usually depicts them as a blue dragon in 5th edition with lightning breath. That's kind of what they have, like, by default. But you can have a Dracolich. I mean, there's a famous one that's like a Dracolich that's a black dragon, I believe. There's Dawagoth. Wait, that's the one I was literally just thinking of. Dawagoth is the famous black dragon. And he's like, he's seeking arcane knowledge, and he's actually like a chosen of Mystra as well, funnily enough. But they have this anti-healing aura in 2024. I don't know if they get this in 5e. I mean, they probably don't because their stat sheet's shit. But in 60-foot radius around them, you can't heal. Like, you cannot regain hit points. That actually makes them pretty scary. Right? Orcus, right, as I said in my Demon Lords video, can summon 500 HP with Undead. Dracoliches have 225 HP. He can summon 2 of these, and while they're in the arena, then players ain't healing. That's a... if you want to be a merciless DM, do that. Now, Dracoliches on their own, if you just use them as they are, they're actually very weak. Their stats are low as shit. Right, they get bodied by basically anything. And they're kind of like, because they could be anything, they don't really have a defined theme and personality other than they're undead. So I'm putting Dracoliches. I'll put them in the below white, because at least white dragons have an identity. But Dracoliches are just whatever. They're just the zombified skeletal magical corpse of whatever dragon you feel like. Right, Dragon Turtles. Okay. These dudes are, I think, like the same challenge rating as the Dracolich in the monster manual. Maybe not this one I'm looking at. This is the Ancient Dragon Turtle from Fizzbands. This is why I have this other Dragon Turtle in the what category, because I accidentally include 2 of these. This one's from the monster manual. This one's from Fizzbands. The size on this thing, like I said with the chromatic thing, like, at least this makes a little bit more sense, because I can imagine this thing as a living island. Right, there's like an island out to sea, and it's moving around, and there's inhabitants that live on its back, and all that type of thing, like Shen Shinzu or whatever from World of Warcraft. At least I can kind of buy it, because it's in the ocean, and, it can go unnoticed and all that type of thing. Like, it has its place. But, again, how do you fight that thing? Like, you could have it on, like, ship combat with cannons, but look at them ships compared to it. Bro, them ships ain't doing nothing. Right? They could be all, like, man of war, full 40 cannon broadsides on this thing's face, and they ain't even gonna chip it. So, I don't know. Dragon Turtles are cool. They're not, like, the most impressive thing ever, but, I can imagine on a nautical adventure just seeing an island moving towards you, and it's that thing. Like, that's pretty cool. Dragonels. I bet most of you have never heard of one of these things before. These things are in Fizzbands. I think they're in Dragonlance as well, actually. Look, these things, at the end of the day, they're just a good mount for a dragon-themed campaign. That's kind of their entire purpose. They're going in C tier. Dragon Shards. I used one of these as a quest giver. It's literally just like the ghost of a dragon trapped into like a magical item. Okay, and it was just this big sword in a cave. It's like, excuse me, I've been killed by my rival dragon over there. Kill him, please. Like, that's kind of what they're for. I guess you could make a magic item out of it that a player character wields, but like, these things are powerful. Like, their stat block on these things is huge. I can't remember what CR they are, but they're kind of scary. But again, they're not really a dragon. They're a magic item with the essence of a dragon bound in it. It's a C tier. Dracohydra. Jack ran one of these in his game, but it was the Pydra. He kind of made it all Fire Fiend. Like, these things are discount Tiamat. Okay? I even said to him, when I first stumbled across this, I said to him, I was like, look, Jack, we're playing Tyranny of Dragons with Tiamat. You should throw this against, like, us and pretend it's Tiamat at the start. And I guarantee, because most of our players, they're not the most attentive, so they're probably going to actually believe this is Tiamat. But, it's a cool design. It's a very cool, like, CR10, CR11 boss. Let's put him in mid-C. It wouldn't be a BBG. It's just a cool monster. Dragonbone Golems. Okay. So, Jack also ran one of these things, and it has like a petrification breath, and we were level 5, and I got petrified, and there was not really a lot you could do about it. Like, I don't like stun lock effects, but I'm not going to hold that against the dragons. I don't necessarily think it's bad design to have a breath attack that, like, petrifies or paralyzes. If anything, that might put them higher in the rankings because they're stronger. But this thing ain't even a dragon. And it ain't even an undead. It's a construct. It can't fly, okay? It's... I don't know what CR it is, but it's like CR8. No, it's just... It's going in... It looks cool as shit. Okay, it's a cool looking dragon. I'm going to put it by there. Right, C tier, mid tier, C tier. It's not awful. It ain't even a dragon though, so I don't even know what it's doing. I could have put it in the what category, but it's not that bad. Okay. Hollow dragons, right. This thing... This is supposed to be like the metallic dragons version of the Dracolich, which I'm pretty sure is just a Dracolich. But it's like a noble Dracolich. It's supposed to be like a, oh, I sought undead because I'm noble and I want to pursue immortality for noble reasons. Right, look at this thing. So, Hollow Dragon, okay? Now look at the Dragonbone Golem that I just showed a minute ago. I know I just said the Dragonbone Golem isn't undead, but if you didn't know that already, which one of these do you think would be the undead? And which one do you think would be the construct? Well, the Hollow Dragon is undead, mate. It's the divine spirit of a metallic noble dragon that's bound together in armor, which when you hit it falls apart and like reforms and all that sort of thing. It's not even a dragon. I mean, it is. It's the spirit of a dragon. But... It seems like a weird edition. I don't know if these are in older editions, but... I don't know. There are many ways of having a metallic dragon come back as an undead that's way cooler than this. You could have a ghost dragon. You could have a Dracolich, right? You could have a shadow dragon. Okay? This is a light dragon. I mean, I said that was a light dragon too, but this is an actual light dragon. And, look, I don't know about him. Now, speaking of gold and light and shiny shit, we have the Gold Dragon. This dude is the strongest of all the dragons ever, except for the gods, obviously. Stronger than red dragons. You know, strongest metallic. They have a weakening breath, which is actually kind of pathetic. But other than that, you know, huge. They're just better than a red dragon in every way. Which is why I'm not going to put them that high. Here's the reason. Number one, I think the design looks a bit silly in 5e. Older editions and in 2024, they've improved the design. They've gone back to the snake-like appearance. It's unique. You know, I'm not a huge fan of snake-like looking dragons, but it's unique. The 5e design... The problem I have with gold dragons, okay, is that they are, as I said, the most powerful of all the good dragons. But they're also one of the most passive. Because gold dragons tend to be protectors and guardians of, like, sacred places, okay? But they're also, like, the wise sages. Their whole thing is motivating and empowering heroes to go on a journey and overcome evil themselves. There's nothing bad about that. But it also has this same sort of, like, trope of... Bro, like, you're ridiculously powerful and there's this red dragon going around killing loads of people. You would save a lot more lives if you skip the whole hero's journey that I'm supposed to go through over the next few years while he's torching innocents and just go deal with him yourself. But very often they're like, no, you must undertake this journey yourself, young one, because I believe in you and, you know, I'm wise. They're still in A tier. I mean, it'll be insulting to put them below... Ooh. I'm putting them below bronze. Bronze just do more, to be honest. They are more active. I mean, look, listen. None of these dragons are completely 100% bound to their personality traits and lore. Gold dragons can be active. Palarandusk is carrying the gold dragons because he's like the whole reason why Neverwinter is even still alive. I think it's Neverwinter anyway. Might be. I'm pretty sure it's Neverwinter that he exists outside of, and he's like half ethereal, and he's going around and he protects Neverwinter from like hordes of invaders and things. Like, That's a cool gold dragon. They can be awesome as shit. But for the most part, I think it's just the whole I'm the wise mentor type of dragon. It's like, bro, you're the strongest thing in the world. Just go bloody kick the ass of the red dragon and job done. You won't need a hero. Okay. This is where it's going to get controversial because we have the green dragon. This is Jack's favourite dragon. This is also Ashray's favourite dragon. The Manipulator Dragon. These things are galaxy brain, 5-head, super intelligent dragons. They have a plan for everything. They're forest dwelling. They have like an association with the Unseelie Fae. They are cool. They have a cool design. You know, we often argue about in a free-for-all between all the chromatic dragons, so red, blue, white, black, and green, which one would win in like a domain, like a war, essentially. Not like a free-for-all in an arena, but more like if each of these had their own kingdoms and they were all sharing like a continent together, and they're all trying to vie for control of that continent, which one would be able to do it? Which one could defeat the other dragons? And Green Dragon was a high contender. I still think Blue would come out on top just because they work together, and Blue can be just as cunning as Green. They also have access to scrying. I mean, most of the dragons do. There's not a lot that a Green Dragon can do that the other dragons cannot do. It's just slightly smarter. Okay? It's a sorcerer dragon. It's like got some of the most powerful innate magic. But again, most of that magic is scrying and visiting people's dreams and trickery and all that sort of thing. A blue dragon with enough study can very easily match that level of magic and, in fact, surpass it because they hoard arcane knowledge, whereas greens don't always do that. I'm going to put it just below blue. I think the blue dragon is the better tactician. And in a war between the two, I think blue does come out on top. Green are they're very intelligent, but I think they are overestimated sometimes. Otherwise, if they were as intelligent as Jack likes to make them out to be, these things would own the world. They'd be like the Illuminati of the entirety of the Forgotten Realms. Right. Speaking of Fae, Faerie Dragons. These things are barely even dragons. I remember my first campaign, we had a Drow Paladin who had a Faerie Dragon as like a companion, and the Faerie Dragon actually got really annoying because it had this this bewildering breath attack which can confuse people. That's kind of all they're good for. They're just a little sprightly. Let's put them there, Mitzi. Right. Gem Greatwyrms. So similar to the Chromatic Greatwyrm, you know, the size, silly. The size of this one's a little bit more realistic. It's believable. It looks cooler as well. It's less generic than the Chromatic. So apparently there's only 5 of these Gem Greatwyrms in existence in the lore. And each one of them, they all represent each of the gems. They each believe that they're like the manifested will of Saridor, the gem god who died, the gem dragon god. He was like supposed to be the third wheel, like Tiamat, Bahamut, and then him, and he was like the shit one. But I don't know the exact lore behind Saridor, or whatever. I think it's like 3.5 stuff, or 4th edition, I don't remember. But the Gem Greatwyrms are cool. I love the fact that the Gem Greatwyrms have this telekinesis ability, where it's only once a day, but they have like a DC 26, so you're probably going to fail. And they can just pick up any creature or object that's less than 4,000 pounds. So that's going to be basically any of your player characters. He can target like everything in the room and just fling you around the layer. Wherever he wants. He can deal force damage to you while he's doing it. He can throw you 60 feet in the air, that type of thing. He can just fling you about. He doesn't have to throw you in the air too. He can fling you 60 feet in any direction. So if there's hazards in the layer, like lava or whatever, he can just throw you straight into it. That's a cool ability. That's more interesting than the chromatic abilities, because all the Chromatic Greatwyrm gets is like big breath attack and explosions. That's kind of it. So I'm going to put it above the Chromatic Greatwyrm. I'm honestly going to probably put this thing in the top of B. Because for a Greatwyrm, at the very least, it has interesting mechanics. It's got spell casting, I think. It should do. But yeah, the gem dragons, as I said before, the only thing that puts them behind Chromatic is the design of them physically. But their mechanics are better. However, this one just looks better than the Chromatic Dragon 2. So it's going way above it. Ghost Dragons. Similar to the Dracolich, this can be any dragon. A metallic, chromatic, gem, if you want. Doesn't matter. So it also is. It has the same setbacks. It could be. It doesn't have a defined personality. Jack ran one of these in one of the first campaigns we ever did, and he remembers it really well. Look, I barely remember it. I do vaguely, but the thing that's threatening about these things is they got a breath attack that frightens you. I mean, there's a lot of all the shadow dragons and stuff do that as well, I think. But this thing is incorporeal, so it has the stats of a dragon, but it can like move through the walls and stuff like that. So I still think it is a very cool, like, horror-themed concept. I'm going to put it right next to Dracolich, just below. These are the definitive undead dragons. It's just that one of them's physical and one of them's spiritual. Emerald dragons. These things, I hate the design of them. They look ridiculous. They're like a praying mantis of a dragon, okay? They look very silly. They're little floaty eyebrow horn things, and they're very spindly. Also, they live in a volcano, and I honestly would not have expected a dragon that looks like this to be a volcanic-dwelling dragon. They hoard knowledge, and they have, like, great libraries. Bro, why are you putting that in a dragon? That's just, like, Library of Alexander levels of, like, destruction just waiting to happen. But, you know, one thing I do like about the Emerald Dragons, actually, I find quite funny, is that around their lair, rocks can, like, move on their own. So you could, like, have players go down a tunnel, or they just hear, like, moving rocks, and the rocks just, like, block their exit. I just thought that was quite funny. So, design-wise, they suck. Lore-wise, they're okay. I think they're going in mid-C. But, as they are lore keepers, and they are green, maybe Mr. Lost Lore Scholar should consider liking Emerald Dragons over Green Dragons. Right, Elderbrain Dragon. Speaking of Lost Lore Scholar, he would love this one. This thing ain't even a dragon. It's an elder brain on a dragon corpse. It's just moving around. It's parroting. What the hell am I on about? It's piloting the dragon body like those fungi things do in real life with the ants. It's an elder brain. It's not a dragon. It's I guess, body horror. It can spew tadpoles at you and shit. But this ain't even a dragon, it's a what? Guard drakes. Again, I've cut his head off. God damn it. I really should, like, review these images before I use them. These things are the little puppy dogs of dragons. These things are cool for, like, low-level play. They're, like, a really good, like, companion for a low-level villain, like a dragon cult leader or something along those lines. And he's like, yes, my little puppy, yes. Like giving him a little pet as you enter the room, and then he just lets it loose on you. Because these things are scary. There's like two stats of them. There's like Guard Drake, and then there's like the other one, which is stronger. I don't know which one is. But I'm putting them the same. Look, even though it's headless, it's going in B. Because they're cool little companions. Kobolds. Iconic little creatures. Great little minions. They go in an A. Not much I can say about kobolds, to be honest. They like their traps. Kobolds are probably the deadliest low-level creature because of the way they do their traps. Like, a kobold dungeon could kill a level 20 party because rocks fall, everyone dies. That's the exact sort of tactics they like to use. Plus, these things are lethal at low levels, because even though they are one of the weakest creatures you can fight, they have pack tactics. And at level 1, anything with pack tactics, and there's like more than one of them, is fucking dangerous, man. And slings, they have like ranged weapon pack tactics, is horrendous. Right, half dragons. I'm gonna basically count Dragonborn as half dragons for the sake of argument, because let's be real, they're basically the same thing, okay? Dragonborn lore is a bit dumber than half dragons. though half-dragon lore can be a little bit spicy depending on the source. I'm pretty sure in 5th edition they've watered it down, though. Now, these things are cool. Again, dragon-themed campaign. These are perfect as, like, foot soldiers, lieutenants, kind of like Tyranny of Dragons. There's a few of them running around. These are cool. I know some people don't like the aesthetic of, like, Dragonborn and half-dragons. I actually do. I mean, look at my PNG tuber. Look at him. It's a brass half-dragon. Or drake, should we say. So, I'm going to put these in high B tier. Right, now we have the Liondrake. I included this dude as a meme. Because he just looks funny. It's not even a dragon, it's a monstrosity, like a griffin. But, you know, he looks so proud and regal. And they can, like, stun you with their fear. I don't like stun very much, but I'm putting him up with the Dragonbone Golem. Okay, he's a cool little thing. Moonstone Dragons, however. These things I see as like an anti-green dragon. Right? They dwell in the moonlight and the forests and the fae, and they use dream magic, and they visit you in the dreams and all that type of thing. They're literally just a green dragon, but more like good aligned fae, not unseelie. Although I think they're neutral, because I think they're gemstone dragons. So I think they're neutral. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, though, I can see this being as a foil to a green dragon. Like, if you have a green dragon campaign, like a BBG green dragon, you could have a Moonstone Dragon, which gives you the quest to deal with it, or something like that. Other than that, I don't really know too much about the lore. Like, fae-themed things, I know a lot of people really like them. I know less about fae and all that than, like, undead and demons. I'm not going to lie. So, the design on them is cool. They're going in B tier. I'm going to put them right next to Copper Dragons, above the Chimeras. Right, so, Metallic Greatwyrms. Look, these things are supposed to be like the strongest of the, oh my god, this chair. These are supposed to be the strongest of the Greatwyrms, okay? They're like a higher CR than Chromatic and Gem. They're the good guy Greatwyrms. They've got a better design than the Chromatic. I mean, it's just a silver dragon with floaty crystals all around him for some reason. I actually think the Gem Greatwyrm looks better, to be honest. Now, they do have a 300-foot cone sleep breath attack, which they stole from the brass dragons, right? But there's a good reason for that, because there's only 3 named metallic Greatwyrms. I don't remember any of their names. 2 of them are silver, and they're like dragon gods of justice or something. And one of them is named Asterinian and is a brass dragon, who is also a dragon goddess of learning, sometimes known as the Jester, and sometimes known as Halal. Never ever heard of this before now, but you learn something new every day. So that's cool that the literal strongest metallic dragon in the entire universe is a brass one. Would you I mean, other than Bahamut, duh. But she is the messenger of Io, apparently. So that's impressive. Not gonna lie. But ultimately, look, metallic Greatwyrms, they don't. I wish they had used the brass dragon as the art for it, because I do think the brass look cooler than silver. And so the design of it is not terrible, but it's not as good as the gem. So therefore, it's going below the gem. But not bad. It's alright. It's fine. Right. Okay. Pseudodragons. These things are perfect little minions for your wizard. Very scary at low level, whimsical, tricksy little things. I like them more than Faerie Dragon, so they're going above Faerie Dragon. But other than that, like, look, they're a cool little companion for your low-level group. Wyverns. Wyverns. I call them wyverns. Let's get controversial here, boys. There was this whole era of the internet, which is still technically going on, where you go to any video on YouTube that has, like, Game of Thrones dragons or Smaug or any dragon that has 2 wings and 2 legs, and it's full of comments going, actually, that's not a dragon, that's a wyvern, because it has 2 wings and 2 legs. I don't know who started this rumour, but here's a fun fact for anyone who believes that. Bro, wyverns are dragons. So it's not that's not a dragon, that's a wyvern. It's that is a type of dragon known as a wyvern. Game of Thrones dragons are dragons. I'm sorry to break it to you. Right? Just because they resemble a wyvern, which I'm pretty sure, by the way, a wyvern's supposed to have a stinger. So the Game of Thrones dragons not having stingers actually makes them more dragon than wyvern anyway. There is no... like, who the hell came up with this idea that dragons have to have 4 legs and 2 wings? Like, that's... when has that ever been a classification for dragon? If that was the case, then Asian dragons wouldn't be dragons. Because some of them have 4 legs, but they usually don't have the 2 wings as well. Like, come on now. Right, wyverns anywhere like them, they're beat you. They're going right. I prefer them to chimeras. At least they actually have, like, a consistency to their design. Chimeras are just whatever animals you want to slap together. So they're cool. Right in the middle of the pack. Silver dragons. These things, right, until I started looking more into the brass dragons, and I love the brass dragon lore and aesthetic, these were my favourite metallic dragons. They're the most active of the metallic dragons. They're constantly out fighting evil. They love to... what I love about the silver dragons is they will disguise themselves as a human, and they will live as a human, and they will actually befriend any old human they feel like. You don't have to be someone special. You could be a traveller, a merchant, just a farmer, whoever he's decided to befriend. And this dude will be like an actual proper friend to you. Like a proper friend of the family. And he will look after your kids when you're gone, and their kids, because obviously he keeps going. And that's I love that about them. They spend a lot of time living among mortals so that they can understand mortals. I mean, I know dragons are technically mortals in D&D, but you know what I mean, humans and stuff. Which I think is just cool. Like, imagine you live in a D&D world and there's like this friendly neighbour like over in the other field, and you know he's always bringing gifts, he's looking after you, you know, he babysits when you're away, and it turns out the guy is a silver dragon. But not only that, I like the fact that silver dragons, they're the second strongest of metallics, but they will actually kick the ass of red dragons sometimes. Because red dragons don't like the cold, and silver dragons are all about the cold. They live in the mountains as well, so they share territory with red. They also share territory with white, and white dragons, the minute they know there's a silver dragon in the region, just leave. They just flee. Like, they're like, I don't care how long I've lived here, and if I think this is my kingdom or domain, I ain't messing with that silver. So, yeah, these dudes, I think, are cool. I'm putting them in S. They are probably the coolest of the metallic dragons. Right. Red dragons. I know I said black dragons are my favourite chromatic, but when I was referring to there being a dragon that embodies an actual dragon more than any other dragon on this list, it's the red dragon. Okay? It's the ultimate BBEG dragon. It's got a really cool design. They're the strongest of the dragons. They just go around and they fuck shit up and they do whatever they want. They're smart, they're powerful. Like, they destroy most of the other things on this list. Okay? Especially when they get to the ancient levels. Like, that is the ultimate dragon BBEG. Other than, obviously, a certain other dragon that's coming up on this list in a minute. But they're going in S as well. You know what? Controversial. They're actually going above brass. Now, I still think black are my favourite chromatic. I prefer them. I like the aesthetic more than red, but I can't put red any lower than S. They are the dragon. Shadow dragons. I've mentioned these a few times before on this list already. They're going right next to death dragons because they're practically the exact same thing. They're just Shadowfell, negative energy infused dragons that breathe necrotic breath. And I'm not gonna lie, but like, their stat block's actually really weak. They're not that strong. Now, Sapphire Dragons. These things look cool for Gem Dragons. Again, the Gem Dragon designs are usually a bit weird. These are weird because they're supposed to be like warmongering, like battlefield tacticians. Like they have like the art of war and stuff like that, which is a really cool idea. And it says that they have beef with aberrations and followers of Lolth. I guess they share territory with them. But it doesn't really explain what armies they're leading. They're meant to be like, again, battlefield commanders, but what the hell are they leading? I guess like Draconians? Half-dragons? I have no idea. Kobolds? But either way, I think they're one of the cooler gem dragons. They have like sonic attacks and things, thunder damage. It can speak to you through the crystals that grow around their lair. Other than that, they're kind of... I'm going to put them like high B. Okay? Because like, Fizzbands, it does a terrible job at actually explaining the lore of some of these creatures, and I think this is a perfect example, because it's like, oh, these things hate the followers of Lolth. Why? What? Is there a reason? I mean, you can guess the reason. Lolth followers are pretty evil, but is there a particular reason why it's Lolth followers and not someone else? Either way, moving on. Topaz Dragons. Topaz Dragons. These guys, when you look at them, you would not expect these to be necrotic dragons, but they are. So the philosophy behind these guys, I think, is supposed to be like, they embody decay and destruction, but not in an evil way. They're more of a... it's explained them... They're kind of like a wildfire that destroys a forest, but allows the forest to regrow even healthier than it was before. Like, it clears out all the dead wood, and new life could grow in its place. That's kind of what a Topaz Dragon does. Right? They are obsessed with, like, destruction for the sake of creation. Okay? I once was going to run one of these guys in this sort of dark forest with a lich in it as a quest giver, and he wanted to get his hands on a Sphere of Annihilation because they like objects that have stuff to do with destruction and decay or creation. So a Sphere of Annihilation, Jesus, I can't speak, is the ultimate destructive force. So ooh, yeah, I'm putting them above Sapphire, let's be honest. Okay, we got two left, boys. Sea Serpent. It's a bloody Sea Serpent. Where did I put the Dragon Turtle? There he is. It's a sea monster. Rises up, it's cool to fight, it's a nautical adventure. That's about it, to be honest. And now, we're here, boys. We are here. Tiamat. Okay. The BBEG of Tyranny of Dragons that we're fighting. The goddess of Chromatic Dragons. One of the most powerful forces in the D&D cosmos. Okay. Lives at Avernus. Is way more powerful than Zariel, who runs Avernus, but she just doesn't bother with her. Tiamat is a weird one because the design is sick and is iconic. Way more iconic than Bahamut. She's in the cartoon. You know, she's in video games, I think. She's in that short what was it called? Secret Level. She's in that. And her transformation in that is sick as well. And it's like she breaks out of the chest of a gold dragon like a chest burster. You should watch it to actually understand what I'm on about there. But the problem with Tiamat, I find, is that a lot of the time she's kind of portrayed as this big dumb dragon. At least in the cartoon, I suppose. She's just like she rises up and she's like, I'm gonna destroy everything I see, and then just fumbles about and then gets thwarted within 5 seconds. Also, I love that she has like a rivalry with Venger. Look, it's bloody Tiamat. At the end of the day, she is the dragon of dragons. She has multiple dragon heads. She's 5 dragons in one. So combine the average score of all 5 chromatic dragons, and that's what she has. Okay. Now, who would win, her or Ghidorah? Answer in the comments below. That's the end of the video, boys. If you don't like it, I encourage you to make your own, because this was a lot of fun to do. I'm not going to lie. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you around.